So this is the church season of Easter. That's why we still have the butterflies up. And then in our household, it's called gardening season. I grew up in a gardening household, and that meant that there was a lot of soil that was outside the house that would make its way into the house. And I thought that everyone's father sat in front of the television set and would transplant seedlings from little tiny trays into pots to get them ready to take outside. So it's gardening season. I feel happy to be able to get my hands in the soil, which I did yesterday. And the word abundance came to me because we got bags and bags of weeds that we pulled up. There was an abundance of weeds because the other thing that happens, you are growing plants and you're growing weeds beside them, and you're going to decide what you're going to leave to grow and what you're going to pull up. So yesterday we pulled up a whole lot of weeds, but I don't think that's what Jesus is talking about in terms of abundance in this scripture. He's talking about an abundance of God's love and God's grace and the way that God shows up in this world. If you would look in the book of Genesis, that very same word that Jesus uses when he talks about the life that he has come to bring to those who are his disciples, he talks about them in terms of sheep. He says, I've come to have an abundance of life. It's that same abundance that we hear in the creation story, where this word is used 5 times as the creation is described in terms of what is the earth and what is the seas and what are all the creatures and what is the stars. All manner of things are in abundance that God has created and given to us to live in. So Jesus is talking about really good abundance. In fact, in that story of creation, we hear that God says over and over again, it's good, it's good, it's good, it's good. All manner of things are good. Jesus is talking about an abundance in relationship to faith. And he's talking about it with his disciples who he's calling sheep. And because Jesus is a really excellent teacher, and it happens to all excellent teachers that sometimes the students do not understand what the teacher is talking about. Because Jesus gives this wonderful way of talking about the shepherd and the sheep, and the disciples are like, we don't understand what you're talking about. Maybe they didn't like sheep, maybe they just were not pleased that Jesus wasn't talking to them as human beings. Whatever it was, he explains again that he's come to give them this abundant life where following him, following his voice, following his leadership will allow them to have this incredible experience of what is fullness and what is alive and what is generative. Now this story where Jesus is talking with his disciple comes after one of the big transformation healing stories, the scripture that I had read during the church season of Lent called Bartimaeus, where if you remember at all, Bartimaeus is the one who has been born blind, and it's this really, really long scripture where Jesus brings him to sight and no one can believe it's the same guy. Right? The transformation is so profound that everyone is questioning whether it is real. And I wonder if this kind of abundance is what God is talking to us today in this teaching of Jesus, that there is a way of being in relationship with faith where, just like with Bartimaeus, we are able to, with an abundant faith, begin to look at the world in a new way. Where things that we hadn't seen before do come to sight. Where ways that we actually were downcast because we felt as if we weren't part of something, that we see that we're part of something as people of faith, that there's an abundance of an understanding that God is working in all of these generative ways at the same time, and that we are invited to be part of that abundant way of being in the world. There's a thing about abundance, too. It can mean different things to different people at different points in our life. So I would just like to take a moment, and I'd like you to think, where you are in your life right now, what is something that has been of abundance that has happened to you in the last few days? Something of abundance. Something of abundance that has happened to you in the last 2 days. I want you to think about that. And I'm going to tell you just a couple of stories of abundance. One was the mother who came to me this morning, and her little boy, who's going to be baptized, he said, I want to tell you, Milo's big sister, I described to her what was baptism, and at the breakfast table, Gianni was sure this was an incredible abundance. She went to her little brother and she said, today Pastor Karen is going to put water on your head and you are going to love it. Right, so that little girl, that was abundance. Deep and abiding abundance for something wonderful. The mom had taken the time to explain to her what was going to go on in the baptism. And she wanted to let her brother know, to prepare him, that it was going to be joyous. And then I think of one of the elders that I saw today. And I watched how she engaged another young adult in the congregation, and I watched the story unfold. And I know to her, without talking about it, the abundance for her today was her ability to share a gift of wisdom with someone younger. The abundance came alive to her because she is at a point in her life where she wants to give things away. You know, because praise God, as you get older, wisdom does come. Everyone's so young here, right? Right? Miss Ann, right? Amen, amen. I could get an amen from you, right? Right? So abundance takes a variety of meanings according to where we are in our life's journey. But it's always rooted deeply in a compassion that God has for the world, rooted deeply in Jesus Christ who loves to walk in this world with people, and particularly to reach out to people who are struggling and suffering, and to give them the gift of transformation through a faith that allows abundance to reside in them in new ways. We do hear about abundance in our world, and often it is a message that is hijacked by what are called prosperity gospel preachers. And they tell you, like, if you act this way, then that will happen, and that means that you are a person of faith. So, for example, if you are good, then you will have financial blessing. Or if you are good, then you will live a healthy life and you will have good health. This if-then is very appealing. Because sometimes it doesn't seem like it's clearer. Right? That you're going to get some kind of outcome. But I'm not sure this has anything to do with God's grace. Because God pours grace on it whether we're an if or whether we're then. Amen. Right? All over the place. It has nothing to do with what we do. Darn. It has to do only with God's love first for us. That's why I could baptize this little boy Milo today, right? Because God just loved him. He had no declaration of faith, right? Apparently he can eat his breakfast by himself, but that's about it, right? But God's grace is so real, and we have an understanding that even when we're suffering and we do wrong, or wrong is foisted upon us, God still loves us and grace still flows anyhow. And that is an abundance. An abundance that prosperity gospel doesn't hold. It doesn't hold for anyone. It doesn't hold for anyone ever. The abundance of God's grace is nothing that we can control ourselves. And it comes to us in a relationship that Jesus longs to have with us. It comes through this spiritual leadership that Jesus longs to offer us in communities where God's teaching is the priorities of loving God, loving self, and loving neighbor. And the stretch of what that means is the neighbor is not necessarily someone sitting near you who you like. The neighbor could be someone on the other side of the globe, or the neighbor could be an enemy. That the abundance of God's grace pours out into the world and allows us to stretch out in ways so that we can trust that God's abundance actually moves in difficult situations. The abundance of God is a gift to us, and it's a call to join God's ministry of love and reconciliation in the world. So just think for a moment. Think for a moment about your life today. Think for a moment about where, again, you've experienced abundance. And think for a moment, where's a place that perhaps you could share this abundance this week? Is there a person? Is there a way that you could engage in some of the gifts that God is giving to you today that you might not even know are happening? I get the gift of standing under the butterfly. Look at this butterfly. What is this mobile? Right? So I feel like I can share the gift of joy with people. Right? Because this is just like amazing to me. You got to see me on a Sunday morning when I'm in the pulpit, the butterfly pulpit, right? There's nothing like that. Right? So the ability to share out of God's abundance with the world is the gift that God invites us to travel in. And so we are in a world where sometimes it seems as if people are in situations that deny abundance, where life is cut short too soon. If we would think this week of that very difficult situation in Dallas, Texas, where a young man named Jordan Edwards, 15 years old, killed by a policeman, another young black man killed. The abundance of God's grace was cut off by violence. But it doesn't mean that that grace ends for Jordan Edwards. It follows him into the next life, and God's love never ever leaves that young man stranded. But we are also called to join God in a way that we can move in the world to bring an abundance of love instead of an abundance of violence. We see way too much violence. And as I was thinking about this scripture, and you know I love to do a baptism. This morning we did 2 baptisms. Just amazing again. But what that brings to mind is the gift also of Jesus' spiritual leadership and inviting us into ministry with Him as He has us to remember, actually, we all have ancestors of the faith. Amen. Ancestors of the faith who have gone before us, who join with us in trying to share this abundance with the world. Because things like the abundance of violence that has to cease, the abundance of killing people way before their time, we can't do that ourselves. Like y'all young people are strong, right? But you need some generations with you. Right? Don't we need that whole long line of people who Jesus has loved from generation to generation to generation with an abundance that we can bring forward into our days and to share in bold ways to say, actually, no, this is not how the world is going to work. God works through us to join Jesus in mission for the world, which also has to do with us challenging those injustices that stop the abundant life from moving into different quadrants in this world. Quadrants that are denied access to way too much. So this gift of abundance is something that I hope you can take with you this week. And let me tell you, if you run into a situation where it seems as if, you know, one of those times where you are sure that God is no way in this situation, just remember Jesus on the cross, right? Abundance itself is killed on the cross. All those people there crying and weeping, many sure this is it. It's gone, it's dead. Abundance cannot stand what is evil. But the good news of Easter is the good news of every time we take a breath, is that the tomb where Jesus was put is empty, and Jesus Christ is risen. And the risen Christ keeps showing up among us, bringing this abundance back over and over and over, even particularly in the places where suffering is happening. It may be hard to see. It may be difficult to believe. But God loves us first. So receive that gift. It will generate an abundance in you, I pray. An abundance that will bring you through this week and perhaps have you engage in sharing this abundance in a new way that makes a difference for God's world. In Jesus' name, let everyone say, amen.